to the cloud. There we go. It wasn't recording. So let me start again. So hello, I'm Kimball Sargent, and today we are going to talk about, basically it's really going to be thriving in this pandemic that we're in. My history is that I have been a nurse psychotherapist and family psychotherapist for 25 years. And I have been an NLP and hypnotherapy practitioner for 24 years. So lots of my years have been in helping people change and manage difficult times. And about 14 years ago, I moved off into the area of seeing how we could use natural energies to help with that. So when I see people struggling, it's sort of by nature to think about what solutions there are. And, you know, I've watched waves during the time that we have been dealing with this pandemic of, you know, people really coming together and being hopeful and then getting tired and kind of frustrated and depressed. And then in May, things started opening up. And then what I've noticed for about the last 2 weeks is a lot of people are hitting walls. And I think that those walls come up for a couple of reasons. There is a huge amount of uncertainty in the world. And perhaps people in my line of work, we kind of thrive off that uncertainty. Uncertainty to a certain extent gets me excited. And I'll just let you know, people like being a little scared. If you ever go to a theme park and you see the people in line to get on the roller coaster and the one standing in line to be in the first car, that's because excitement, extreme excitement and fear are really the same emotion. They're experienced at different times, but that rush that we get from that is something that we like. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit today about kind of changing the way you look at things. Wayne Dyer was a great teacher for me. I did trainings with him. I've read all of his books. And he had a book called Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. And thoughts are a huge part. Whatever happens in our lives, the way we look at it and how we take it and deal with it will make a huge difference. One of the things that I realized when this pandemic started was that my grandmother, she really is the person who raised me, but she was 17 years old when the flu started in 1918. Now, she lived in Lizard Lick, North Carolina, not a huge urban area, but it's my understanding that they actually quarantined even then. And I think about the fact that ever since, and I thought, wow, you know, I knew about the flu of 1918, but I never asked her what that was like. She told me so many things about life when she was younger, but she never mentioned it. You know, they had no phones, they had no internet, of course. I mean, you know, but they knew that lots of people were getting sick and there were lots of people that were dying. But she went on from that, and it wasn't a big enough issue in her life that she ever even talked about it. So I'm not sure that, you know, by the time I knew her, it was the 60s. And so, you know, when we've moved 50 years from here, this will be a piece in history, but it may not be the way we would think of it as being now. You know, one of the things is that whatever comes to us brings a lot of opportunity. One of my favorite quotes by Louise Hay, someone else I studied with, is that, and it's an affirmation. And if you've got a piece of paper, I encourage you to write this one down, because this is one that is very smart for you to use ongoing. Everything that comes from this situation is working for my highest good. Everything that lies before me is good. I am safe. Now, I don't think that leaves anything out, does it? Because whatever's happening right now, it doesn't matter. If the house is burning down, it's okay, because something good's going to come from it and you're safe. You know, if it's going well, that's fine, because good's going to come from it. And I think that it's kind of time to hit the pause button and kind of look at where you're at. You know, growth in life really comes when we hit crises. When we're on the lazy river, just kind of floating along, not much is happening, and we're okay with it. being comfortable is not where we grow. It's a nice place, but nothing changes. But when you hit a crisis, and we're in one right now, it's really time to take a look at your life and figure out what you want it to be. So here's where you are, and here's where you want to be. What is it that's got to take place in this space? And this is a great time to do that. It's a great time to do it with career, with family, wherever you're at. So I want to share a story of Louise Hay. Louise did not have the happiest of lives in many ways. Not an easy time growing up. She had a baby before she was married that she put up for adoption because she knew she couldn't take care of it. She met a man who was wealthy, and she thought that, that would be a great life, and he left her for a younger woman. But when Louise was in her 50s, she was diagnosed with cancer. And she went to the hospital, and the doctor said, yes, it was indeed cancer, and they needed to do surgery on her. And she said, I don't have any money. I need to go and make some money and do some things, and then I'll come back. And they said, okay, because it does take money. So Louise went and she began to work on herself. And out of that work that she did came a book that I've got here. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. If this is not a book that is on your bookshelf now, I highly encourage you to get it. And I encourage you to get this. It's the gift edition, because I've got to show you. I love this. Every page is beautiful, bright colors and very pretty. And when you look at color, it stimulates your brain and it awakens you, and you are more open to change states. So what Louise did was Louise went and she started looking at every aspect of her life and what she needed to do. And when she had finished this whole process, she went back to the doctors. And guess what? The cancer was gone. Now, I don't know what happened. I'll let you fill in. Louise healed because. But what we know is that she changed her thoughts. She changed her thoughts. She changed her actions. And then her life changed. I'm trained in Ericksonian hypnosis, and one of the smartest people that ever trained with Milton Erickson was a man named Rossi. And when Rossi was a little boy, they told his mother that he would never learn because of his learning disabilities. And Rossi grew up to be uber smart, and everything that he wrote or said had to be more complicated than anyone would ever know, because, we tell people to speak like you're talking to fourth graders. Well, Rossi always spoke like he was talking to postdocs over in the med program, because he wanted to make sure everyone knew that he was smart. But he wrote this book that talks about when you are in meditative states, or we use hypnotherapy, that you can change your body down to a cellular level. And that is really so exciting. So right now, when you're in this crisis, being in charge of your thoughts and what's going on in your life has never been more important. So the first thing that I'm going to invite all of you to do that are watching this today is to sit down and say, what would my ideal life look like? If my life were ideal, where would I be living? And that would be the state, the country, whatever, because it may not be here. Where would you be living? Would it be in a city, in a rural area? Would you be in a high rise? Would you be in a house? Would you be in an RV? Where is it you want to be? Who would be there with you? How would you be making your living? What would you be contributing to society? What would your family look like? How would you be interacting with your family? What would you be doing for yourself? Would you, what would your hobbies be? Would there be people you do those hobbies with? I want you to write down, and you write this, and you want to fill in as many details as you can. I have a saying that God has a sense of humor, and the things that you don't fill in, he may do it with laughter. So you want to be pretty specific. In fact, I'll tell you, I'm very much into the power of attention and intention and what we bring about. And some years back, there was a conference that I was going to in the company that I partner with. And I had kept saying there was a level I wanted to reach that they call the goal level. And I had kept saying, when we go in March, we're going to go gold. When we go in March, we're going to be gold. We're going there in gold. Well, we bought a new vehicle about 2 months before we went. And guess what color it ended up? It was gold. We didn't reach the level, but about halfway there, I just started laughing. And my husband said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Well, we did it." I said, "We absolutely created exactly what I wanted." And I said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I said that we were going to Texas in gold, and we are going to Texas in gold." So be very specific about the things that you want, and know that you deserve those things. That just because you exist and you were created, you deserve what you are getting. You deserve good things. You have to believe that you are deserving in order to manifest in your life the things that you want. And our thoughts are so powerful. You know, what you think about, you may very well bring about. So I really encourage people not to think of worst case scenarios. And I have a confession. I have to fight this because I'm a problem solver, and I'm always thinking this way, this way, this way, this way. Well, you know, what if that happens? What if that happens? That's not really what you want to be doing. In fact, someone asked me some weeks ago about, you know, what my advice was about this virus. And I said, well, I think that you should never be afraid of it. At the same time, I think you should take precautions as if you were in the very highest risk group. And that's mask wearing, and that's keeping social distancing. You know, it's the really important things. I said, but you've got to have a belief system that you won't get it. And if some weird thing happens and you find yourself with the virus, that you know that you're going to go through it and you're going to heal without any problem. So, I mean, I think that that's where we want to look at ourselves. And if you are in a position where you are concerned financially, and certainly there are so many people who are, I mean, that's one of the reasons that our country has worked so hard to push for opening at a pace that was not really recommended by the public health people, was because there is this huge fear of poverty and the bottom falling out and what is going to happen. And I think that you have to, if that is happening to you, then you've got to stop, call a time out, and think of what else that you can do. What can you bring to the world in order to create more abundance that flows to you? You know, we will never go back to a world that was exactly like it was on March 16th, which is primarily when everything in North Carolina really started shutting down. We will never go back to that world. Some of those things we will miss, some of those we won't. I mean, it's not like that we're always going to live the way we do right now. But what we've learned is we are able to network. You know, today there's somebody on this call from Indiana. There's somebody on this call from Virginia. You know, the world is a great big place, and we can connect with people without getting in our cars and driving for that connection. We can look into their eyes the way that we are today, and we can make those connections. That's going to change. I don't know what education is going to look like, but it won't look like exactly like it did. And hardly any businesses will. As a therapist, my business has been online with the clients that I do therapy with since March 16th. And you know what? In the beginning, I wasn't sure I liked it. Now I think I really do like it. And I do believe that going forward. So everything is going to change. So right now, I want you, if you've got that piece of paper, I want you to write down, I embrace change. That is an amazing affirmation, because there's very few things that I'll ever give anybody a guarantee on, but I guarantee you this: nothing in your life will ever stay the same, no matter how the good event is happening or how bad it's happening. If it's bad, you want it to be over 15 minutes ago, and if it's good, you want it to last forever, and neither one of those things happen. Everything changes. So embrace change and get yourself, the Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass, and be looking, scanning that horizon for what the positives are that come out of that. Many years ago, over 20 years ago now, when Fran came through Raleigh, I had just finished graduate school. We were in a bit of debt. I had started my practice and it was off and running. And Fran came through, and the first floor of my house flooded with 5 feet of water, and a tree came right through the ceiling of the room that I was renting for my practice. And that morning, when my husband came home and we walked around and we lost half of everything and we didn't have any flood insurance. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I don't know what's coming from this, but this is pretty big. So there's got to be a lot of good. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads, and that's perfectly okay. I just had to look at that, and I had to keep moving. I would not. Now, occasionally I let myself have a good cry. So if you're one of those people right now that's really frightened and you're saying, well, Kimball, you shouldn't get rid of your emotions. You shouldn't. Plan a time each day and set an alarm clock and set it for like 10 minutes. And that is your time. It's scheduled in. Put it in your phone, put it in your planner, whatever you use, and you set that, and you cry, curse, fuss, scream, whatever you want. But when that timer goes off, you put that away. I want you to take it, and I want you to put it up in your closet with the things that you don't ever get out until you're ready to set the timer again. And then I want you to look towards that future that you would like to have. That's why it's very important that you create that. When you go to bed at night, just before you go to bed, I want you to say 3 gratitudes from that day. And these are not 3 things you were grateful for yesterday, and they're not things you're going to be grateful tomorrow, but 3 things that day that you can think of that you're grateful for. And then, whether it be a prayer or a thought, I want you to ask that when you sleep, that you will find answers to what your future should look like. And every night, you do the exact same thing. When we're sleeping, our unconscious takes over, and it handles all the stuff for us that we can't really handle during the day. Isn't it absolutely delightful to know that we have something that works while we're asleep and we don't have to be thinking about it? I think that's one of the most freeing things that there ever was. Now, when you wake up, before you do anything else, I want you to say 3 more gratitudes. You're going to end with 3 gratitudes, and you're going to wake up with 3 gratitudes. And, there are infinite numbers of things in your life that you can be grateful for. When you do this practice, you will be changing your life. And always remember, in each one of those days, the only time that we have that we can do anything with is the present moment. Yesterday is a memory. Tomorrow never comes because you wake up and then you're in that day. So your power comes in the now, and it comes in being mindful, being focused, in choosing that this is your miracle day. Now, there is an exercise I sometimes give people where they flip a coin, Heads is a miracle day. Tails, same old, same old. And you can play the game. But if you choose for it to be a miracle day, you're living your best life. And you choose it and you think about it and you act as if, and you go through and you just keep doing that. And then at the end of the day, you write down how you felt. If you do the same old, then you write down how you felt with that. Because we have a choice. And where we are focusing our thoughts is what we create. Wayne Dyer, whenever he spoke, always reminded everyone who was listening to him that we choose whether we live in a safe world or we live in a chaotic world. Now, there's always, since the beginning of time, been chaos, but we choose how we think about it. And the way we think about it is how our bodies react. I once was working with a woman that was supposed to have a really invasive therapy. And she wanted to do some NLP with me. And I had taught her self-meditation, self-hypnosis. And that morning when she got ready to have the surgery, she announced to the doctor she wasn't going to do something that he wanted to do. And he did something that I have never heard of before or since. He put the surgery off for 2.5 hours. And he sent his nurse in, and this nurse really was berating her about how horrible her life was going to be if she didn't do all of the things that the doctor wanted to do. And she said, "Nope, I'm not doing it." So finally, the doctor took her to word. When she came to see me, she came in and I looked at her and I said, "Wow, did you not have your surgery?" Because I couldn't tell that she'd had any surgery. And most of the time when people have that surgery, it's something that it's about 3 months before they look anywhere near what we'll call normal, whatever that is. And she said, "Yeah." She says, "But, and then she explained how this nurse and the doctor berated her. She says, "But I just went into self-hypnosis and I stayed in that state the whole time." And she said, "It's so interesting because after the surgery, the doctor said, 'That was so weird. You just didn't bleed hardly at all.'" And he said, "It was one of the easiest surgeries I've ever done." Now that's going to let you know what putting yourself in that calm and quiet and meditative state can do. Lowers your blood pressure. It improves your immune system. It keeps your heart rate steady. It clears your mind. And if throughout your day you continue to see your life as the life you want to be living and see yourself doing the things that you want to do, it has a profound effect. People who meditate live 7 years longer. People who, when you do an optimism survey on them and they come up as optimistic, they get sick less, they heal faster, they have a surgery, they get along better, they make more money. You just got to keep your vision. So if you're living your best life already, just keep sight of that, but stay in the now. Now, I don't think that necessarily means absolutely no news. I think at least once a day you need to check in. And I'm telling you right now, I am a nurse. Once a day you need to see what the hospital bed count is looking like in the state that you're in, because that's something that you need to be aware of for many reasons. And you need to be looking at what are the recommendations that they are making for safety. And you need to follow those. A couple of weeks ago, I did one of my 3.5 mile walks, and I put a mask on, and I use a pulse oximeter to show. Actually, at one point in the walk, I started out with a 94 saturation. At one point during the walk, I was up to 98, and when I finished, I was back down at 94. So wearing a mask is not going to kill you. It is not going to make you sick. Keeping a distance, that can be hard. Use air hugs. Washing your hands, I don't even want to go there, because Florence Nightingale figured out a long time ago that we needed to wash our hands. And when I learned a few months ago that this was a new notion to some people, it was kind of disturbing. So these are just the things that we kind of learned in kindergarten. And be kind. When you have a chance to be kind or be right, be kind. If there's somebody not wearing a mask and you'd like them to, maybe say in a very kind way, I really wish you'd wear a mask because I think it'd be good for you and I think it would be good to me. But be kind. Don't be mean to each other. When we speak to others and are angry and, got all that going, we go into a trance, and it's a really nasty trance. You don't want to be in that trance. That trance of anger is going to increase your heart rate. It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to stress your immune system. And you know what? Nobody can really afford that right now. Now is the time to flourish. Now is the time to be living the good and seeing yourself at the end of this, seeing yourself doing what you want to do. One of my favorite stories that's always told to salespeople is the story of Roger Bannister. And Roger broke the 4-minute mile years ago. And I love Roger because Roger was not an athlete. Roger was a nerd who went to graduate school and didn't know how to make friends. And so he needed to get in a club in order to do that. And the only one he could think of doing was the running club. He could do that. And doctors and all were saying that no one could beat the 4-minute mile. Their heart would explode. So see, doctors don't always know everything. But it was a good story because nobody had ever done it. So Roger wrote on a little piece of paper, I broke the 4-minute mile. And then Roger started running. And every time he ran, he had that piece of paper in his shoe. And he ran and he ran and he ran, and then he broke it. Wow. And his heart didn't explode. And in 6 months, 4 more people had broken his record. So just because a thing has not been done, it doesn't mean that it can't be done. And I'm going to challenge each of you. If you've not read You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, get a copy and read it. I'm pondering the idea of doing a book study with this. It's one of my very favorite books. So if any of you would be interested in that, please let me know, and I'll let you know when I get it started. It's just going to be a free book club. But I think that right now is a time is to dream big, be working towards that, be smart, be safe, and be kind. You do not have to live in fear. You can have power and know that you will get through this. And we get through it by getting through it together. And that means looking out for each other, helping each other, and giving all of us the positive energy that we need. So I want to thank you very much for listening to that today.